Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Jackson County. We have got a great show for you. Joining me in the studio here at WKFK is Mr. Frank Corder. He's not a stranger to me or the station. And Frank is a Pascagoula City Councilman, and he's also running for mayor of the city of Pascagoula. He wants to be your mayor. Frank, thank you for coming into the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it very much.
I'm glad you're here. First of all, let's talk about Frank Corder.
Sure.
Tell us about Frank Corder and your family. And
Sure. Well, I was born and raised right here in Pascagoula. I graduated from Pascagoula High School, went to USM for a little while, but came back as fast as I could. Got married while I was up there. Have two beautiful kids. Have a daughter who is 9 and a son who is 5, both in the Pascagoula School District at East Lawn Elementary. I've worked a number of jobs in town, from Hancock Bank to doing local radio and TV to managing the old LaFawn site, to helping with my family small business now at Quarters Creamery and Garden Bar downtown, and writing for Y'all Politics. My wife's a nurse over at Ocean Springs Hospital. My dad and my grandparents, my uncles and cousins have all worked at the shipyard for many, many years. We are vested in this community. We have a stake in this community, and our goal is to make a difference for this community.
So that's probably what your goal is to be, if you're elected mayor, is to make a difference for the city of Pascagoula.
That's right. I ran for office after Mr. Mangum won his seat on the supervisory board back in 2008. I won a special election there, and then ran again in 2009 for a full term. So I've been on the council for now almost 5 years now. My goal then and my goal now has been the same, is to help everyone think Pascagoula first, to grow Pascagoula, to put some more attention on Pascagoula, to create opportunities for our citizens, for our businesses, to not just send our kids off out of town and then never see them again, but have them come back and live and invest themselves back into our great city. And I think that we've started on a good path forward to do that. But I think there's a lot of positive things that we can do going forward to continue that trend.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question about city projects, important city projects, projects that you would like to talk about that you've been involved with.
Sure. After Hurricane Katrina, before I was elected, I attended almost every city council meeting for a number of years before I won election. I invested myself in at an early age to learn what the city was doing, why they were doing it, and how government works. I chaired the Renaissance Commission after the storm. I was the chair of the Economic Development Council here in the city, served on Main Street and other groups. And through those, I was able to influence some of the projects that were happening today before I was even elected, some of it being on our riverfront. We are actively trying to redevelop that site, beautify it, bring businesses down there, put housing options down there, retail options down there, dining options down there. Soon, that parking garage will not be a parking garage to nowhere. It'll be a parking garage to somewhere. We'll have businesses lining those areas. Other things, for example, our downtown redevelopment projects with the streetscapes and the Anchor Square development. That's a great addition right there for small business incubation efforts. But there are other things that we need to do as well. Some of our focus hasn't been on Highway 90, on our main corridor. We need to better highlight that area, encourage business growth on that area, to bring a better attention to that area so it looks better, it flows better, and that people are actually able to find shops, find dining options in that main corridor.
Well, that brings me to this question. Mm-hmm. After the hurricane, the city of Pascagoula, and really a lot of places on the coast, but we're talking about Pascagoula now, lost a tremendous amount of its population.
Sure.
Due to the hurricane.
Sure.
And before the show started, you were mentioning somewhere around 20,000, or?
We're about 22.5 right now, based on the 2010 census. That's our current population. We in the 2000 census, we were around 26,000, so we lost about 3,500 people or so within that 10-year span. Large part of it probably was due to the hurricane. But our goal, my goal, as a city should be to get those folks back, to have them live in Pascagoula, to invest themselves back into this city. We swell every day 3 and 4 times our size with job opportunities, from the shipyard to Chevron. We have to do a better job of capturing those people and having them live in Pascagoula. Because when you live here, you take more pride in your streets, in your small businesses, in your recreation departments, all those things, and it creates a better sense of community. And you're not just driving in from out of town to get a paycheck, but you're actually in town investing yourself in a community that you're working in as well. So our job going forward is to create more options, more opportunities, more incentives for people to come back and live in Pascagoula.
And if you're successful at doing that, you will increase the tax base.
That's right.
And the city cannot function without money.
That's right.
Projects cannot be completed without money.
That's right.
And if you're successful in bringing the population back to the city, then there will be more monies for projects and improvements and
right.
repairs and so forth.
Right. Our current budget right now is about $62 million. We have about $28 million of that in our general fund. And what that means to the listener out there is that we are fiscally sound. We are doing things that are necessary, but not over and above right now because we don't have the extra money. We have been able to retain a healthy reserve fund in our accounts, to that way we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul at the end of each budget year. State economists will say that Pascagoula, actually he has said that Pascagoula is one of the better fiscally sound cities in the state. We have a healthy reserve of about $14 million, which is about half of our general budget. So that allows for, in case of emergencies, in case of a hurricane comes through, we are ready to respond on behalf of our citizens, and that's a very good thing.
What that also means is there's some stability as far as tax rates go.
That's right. We have not raised taxes. We've been at 39.55 mils for quite a while. And I've made a promise when I took office, and I will continue that promise, that I will not raise taxes, and I will find every way I can to lower the tax rate. And I think we can lower tax rates in Pascagoula by doing what you just said, by getting more people to live in town, more businesses to be in town, and to have more of a people investing back into Pascagoula.
Well, hats off to the city for being fiscally responsible with the citizens' money and having that rainy day fund, if you might want to call it, or reserve fund. It is just a fiscally responsible policy. Now you're going to come out, and we're not going to talk about it on the show because we don't want to spoil that. Sure. But you're going to have a vision statement that you're going to publish soon.
Yeah, we're working on our campaign booklet to outline our goals and plan for the next 4 years, with some specifics of how we want to move things forward. Not to kind of prep it too much, but I think that people will see that there is a clear difference between someone who's been involved in city government, who understands city government, and those who have not. I think there'll be a clear understanding of that in this campaign. You'll hear a lot of rhetoric, but you'll have someone who actually has a record to run on, and I think you'll see that very, very forthright out of our vision statement.
Well, having been slightly involved, I mean, in the city of Goshen, I'm the Civil Service Commission chairman.
Right. Tough job.
It's a little different from the inside looking out than it is from the outside looking in. You tend to get a real education, for lack of a better word, when you do get involved in it and see the workings of it. So, and it is really different than what you think it may be.
It is. Like I said, I spent years before I ran for office going to council meetings, being involved in city committees. I probably had as good of a attendance record at council meetings as some of the councilmen did back then. But if you haven't done those things, if you haven't invested yourself in attending meetings, being involved in city committees, trying to understand your local government, running for mayor or serving as a mayor of a city seems kind of odd to me. If you haven't taken the time to learn, to grow, to expand your knowledge, to even come to a meeting, there's a problem there. So I'm hoping that people will see that there will be a lot of rhetoric in this campaign, but there is someone running, and I hope that people will see it as me, as having a record that they can trust, that they see as very pro-Pascagoula, pro-family, pro-business, and very fiscally conservative.
So does that say, this says about Frank Corder, because you were so interested in city government, you spent your own time, you invested your own time to become familiar with it, that you might be a little bit better prepared than some of the other candidates?
I think that's a fair statement. We know what our words on our campaign sign say: passion, experience, and leadership, and I think that's evident in what I've tried to portray over the past 5 years and before those 5 years in office, to show that I actually care about being here. I want to be around. My family's invested here. I chose to invest at an early age to be involved in city government, no matter how much that may have cost me in the long run. But I've chose to make a difference for my community now and not wait till I was out of retirement to do so.
And you just want to step up to the plate now and
That's right.
contribute even more.
That's right.
Well, Frank, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back with more of this conversation with Mr. Frank Corder, candidate for mayor, City of Pascagoula, and he's the city councilman. Welcome back to Spotlight on Jackson County. We are continuing our interesting conversation with Mr. Frank Corder, who's a Pascagoula city councilman, and he wants to be the mayor of your city of Pascagoula. Frank, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Doug.
Appreciate you taking the time to come in.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. Before the show, we were talking, and I asked you if you were going to have town hall meetings.
Yes.
And I think that's important because people get to come to a town hall meeting and they sometimes tell you stuff that's going on that you don't know.
That's right.
But they also get a chance to ask you questions and get answers to questions that may be a little unclear to them. That's important. Do you think?
It is. That's the reason I chose to, my very first year in elective office, to begin ward town hall meetings. I'm the councilman of Ward 4 in Pascagoula, and I'm actually the only councilman on the board that actually holds ward town hall meetings annually. I will continue that as mayor, and I plan to, in the next few months during the campaign, to expand those to other areas in the city to listen to people, because that's the whole point of those meetings, is to listen to people, understand their concerns, and offer some perspective back to them so that they understand what's going on. I have tried my best to be as accessible and available as possible. I'm one of the few that actually publishes their cell phone number. My wife don't like that sometimes, but I put my cell phone number out there. I have a Twitter account. I have a Facebook account. I put out weekly email updates. So if you want to sign up for that, send me an email. I'll be glad to put you on there at frank@frankcorder.com. I have a website that's updated regularly with city council agendas. So I've done my best to get out there and to engage the public, and to show that as mayor, there's a record there that shows that I will continue that. I will expand that and make people more engaged in their local government.
Well, I think it's called transparency, and I think
That's right.
people are really, really hungry for that in government. Whether or not any city council or any city government passes something, and whether or not they're trying to do it without the public having any input, but just the perception of that, whether they did it or not,
That's right.
on the part of the public, really makes for a bad deal.
It does, and the key to all that, like I said, was is to be transparent, is to engage the public. That's why I do what I do. I do my best, like I said, to you may not always agree with me, but we'll talk, we'll have a dialogue, and I will tell you what the issues are, what the facts are, and then give you my perspective. And sometimes we'll agree and move on, but sometimes we'll disagree. But I think the healthy dialogue, the healthy conversation with the public and their officials is a vital part of a healthy city government.
Well, speaking of facts, Frank,
Yeah.
there's a lot of information being thrown around out there.
There is.
And some of it I don't understand. But if you want to address that, I mean,
Sure.
I'd like to hear your input on that.
There's a couple of things going on are being said around the city from one of the campaigns. That just for example, saying that all of our city depository is in an out-of-town bank.
Yeah, I've
that's
heard that
just
one.
that's just not true.
Matter of fact, the city is Hattiesburg, where they said it was.
That's what they said. That's just not true. The First has an office in Pascagoula, right on Jackson Avenue. They pay taxes just like everyone else does. And the truth behind that, in case you don't understand the way the city depositories work, they are bid. There is a bidding process, and the highest bidder, as far as the rates, the rate of return, the interest rates, wins the bid. That wasn't always the case. What happened before that was when I first got on the council, having been in banking, having been a branch manager at Hancock Bank, I understood the process of city depositories, and I asked the question: why do we allow one bank to have 35% of the share as a lead bank, one to have 25, one 15, one 5? Is there a reason or rhyme behind that, or is it just arbitrary? And the answer was that's how it's always been done that way. That wasn't good enough to me. So I asked to have it rebid and say a winner take all for the highest interest rate possible, because what happened before was the lead bank would set the interest rate. It may not be the highest rate. That was the rate that they wanted to pay, and the rest of the banks would have to follow. I asked to have it rebid for a winner-take-all city depository bid, and the highest interest rate, the best rate of return for our taxpayers would win the day. And sure enough, on that sealed bid process, the First was the highest interest rate, and our higher rate of return for our taxpayers is going to put in about $170,000 extra annually into our coffers, which wouldn't happen before. So the whole scenario around that is just wrong, and it's good to be able to clear those things up. Another issue was that, comparing us to Gulfport, that's an interesting scenario. Whenever you look at our budget, we're about $62 million for the whole budget, $28 million in our general fund. To say Gulfport has a lower, a smaller budget than us is just wrong. Their total budget exceeds $150 million, and their general fund budget is about $50 million. So you're comparing apples and oranges, and you're misleading people by saying that you can compare us to Gulfport. Those are just a couple of things that are just misleading out there, and that the people need to understand that when they hear this rhetoric, do some research behind it. Google it online; you'll find it. It's just like that. You can find it just like that, and it's very easy to put aside.
Well, that's interesting. The bank that it said the bank was in Hattiesburg, which I guess is the home office.
The home office, but not the
for
actual.
the First.
Right.
But the city can go to Jackson Avenue and do business with the
right.
First.
That's right.
So it's not a.
It's ran by Miss Ellen Cole, who's a longtime person here in town and great, well-respected person in town.
Yes.
You know the whole staff there. It's not like you're dealing with an out-of-town bank. You're dealing with people that you know.
Well, they have an office in Jackson County.
That's right.
Pascagoula.
That's right.
Any thoughts on the jail? I know I'm throwing this one at you.
Well,
We haven't talked about it.
Yeah, the county's in a conundrum. They have to get it built. They have now chosen the designer and the builder on this. Ideally for Pascagoula, it's not the right place. That can't be argued. It's bad to have it right in the middle of your town, especially across from neighborhoods and across from a church. but that is historically where it has been located. And hopefully the county, working with our city staffers, can make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible, to make it as less intrusive on that surrounding neighborhood as possible. But at the end of the day, for the county's taxpayers, something has to be done, because it's a problem that's been allowed to fester for way too long.
Well, it's not. It's the Department of Justice that is
That's
actually
right.
making that happen.
That's right. That's right.
If there was one thing you could pick that you wanted to accomplish after becoming mayor, what would it be?
Well, I think the biggest issue in Pascagoula, apart from housing issues and recreation issues and business issues, is that Pascagoula needs to revitalize the pride in itself. To think Pascagoula first, to understand that when it spends money at an out-of-town restaurant or out-of-town shop, that it's actually hurting our city. Because if we want to have more, if we want to have more retail, more dining options, more businesses located here, more folks live here and invest here, we have to pump those demographic numbers up now. And that means traffic counts, that means numbers from sales numbers. Those things play into us as a city and any other group that is trying to recruit businesses. Those things play into it. So whenever we don't have pride in our city, we throw things down on the sidewalk, and we have litter everywhere, and you have a person coming in trying to who's being recruited to come locate here, and they see this, or they come into a restaurant on a Friday night and it's just dead because everyone's gone over somewhere else. That doesn't show a good side of us, and Pascagoula has to put its best foot forward if we are going to meet the challenges of tomorrow head on, and find a way to revitalize our city and redevelop our city in a way that's both fiscally sound, but also that meets those needs, those amenities that people want. So I would say the one thing that I hope to bring to the table in the next few months is to show that Pascagoula is a meaningful place to live, work, worship, and play. And by what you do, what you say, how you speak about Pascagoula, what you invest in Pascagoula matters. And if we can get that pride back in our city, I think a lot of our issues, a lot of our challenges can be negated over time.
I know the mayor only has one vote on the council, but the mayor is also a very important position. It's the mayor that will be doing all of this positive speaking about the city. It's the mayor who will be representing the city. It's the mayor who will be the one who's going out there and being at the forefront.
That's right.
And it sounds to me that's what Frak Quarter wants to do.
That's right. And I think there's an honest conversation that has to be had with the challenges. It's not all positive. We all need to understand that there are challenges, and there needs to be some frank talk about what's happening. But I do think at the end of the day, speaking of positive Pascagoula, creating an environment that's conducive for business, for people to live here, play here, worship here, do business here is a big factor in it. And I, as mayor, will get out there, beat the streets. I will do my best to steer my colleagues on the council in a direction that is the most pro-Pascagoula, pro-family, pro-business, fiscally conservative way possible. Because I do have the experience, I do have those skill sets and those knowledge base to draw from that can put Pascagoula back on the map. I think we have a very good working relationship with our current council, and I look forward to having a very good one with our future council. There could be a lot of turnover on this board this next time, so we need someone that actually knows city government, that understands what's going on, that doesn't have a huge learning curve coming into place, but that can step into that center seat and make a difference on day one, and I think that's me.
Well, Frank, I was going to give you a minute to look at the camera and tell everybody why did you wanted to be the mayor, but I think you just did that. Well,
good.
Well, Frank, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you
Anytime
very much,
we
Doug.
can help you again, or
Appreciate
anytime
it
you
very
want to come
much.
back to WKFK, you've got an open door.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming in the studio.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching this very special edition of Spotlight on Jackson County. Join us again next time for another great show. We'll see you then.